Hey folks, welcome to Tim's Offgrid. I've been wanting to get one of my original Stansport two-person backpack tents out and try to get it out here in the rain and see how it holds up. I have some memories of this tent, some not so great memories. I do remember waterproofing the tent, but if you do read some of the reviews on like Amazon, it'll talk about some waterproofing issues or susceptibility to rain and so forth. However, I always thought it was a kind of a small, cheaper tent, less than 40 bucks, that you could always have in your car. Maybe it could fit in your backpack for emergency situations or something like that, a get-home bag, etc. If it was something you didn't want to spend a lot of money on. So today, let's set it up. We still have some rain over this weekend. Let's see how it does. So, first things first, we got to lay out our ground pad here. Remember, always try to match this to the size of your tent. So we'll adjust this as we get going. And we'll fold the sides in, etc., because we don't want portions of the ground cloth to go past the sides of the tent, because if that happens, it will naturally funnel water right under the tent. All right, so we're gonna pull the drawstring and we're gonna take the tent out. So this is your traditional pup tent. I tell the boys a lot of times when I remember camping, I don't remember dome tents when we were kids. I don't know if we looked up the history on dome tents for when those became popular or whatever, but I do not remember ever seeing anyone with a dome tent when I was in scouting. What I remember is that we all had pup tents with poles and ropes, and that we had visqueen just like this ground cloth that we put over top of the tent. So that's another idea for you. As you start working with this tent, or a tent similar to this, and you find that you can't waterproof it adequately, you cut your pieces of visqueen like this to go right over top of the tarp or tent. If you go on Amazon, they sell it in rolls. If you go to Campmore, they sell it already pre-cut in smaller pieces. So it's kind of whatever you want to do. All right, once we get our visqueen spread out and get our tent laid out on it, we can understand what we need to fold on here. So we want to match the tent. We don't want to be longer or wider than the tent. So I'm going to fold this portion here. And then we're going to check over here. And what will help too is if you go ahead and put a couple of these stakes in on the tent itself to hold the tent in place. As you go around here to check out how you want your ground cloth to be, or your visqueen. And as this wind blows, these lelands are really dropping water on me right now. There we go. So I'm going to pull real tight against that one right there. I'm going to put the stake in. I got these other two here. So we're going to fix right over here. So remember, we just folded the front to kind of get in line with how long the tent was. Now we're going to fold the side in with how wide the tent is. All right, there we go. So when I go to put this stake in, I'm going to pull against that corner there, and I'm going to pull against that one there. It's very important to get the tent real tight, especially on these pup tents. All right, on this last one, I'm going to pull on all three that are already in place, trying to get any remaining slack out of the tent. All right, so I'm pulling from here, from there. putting this one in. And there we go. Now, I'm going to grab this pole. These are 3-section poles. Put the sections in place. Stand the tent up. Stick this in. Put that pole in place. 2 half hitches on top. And just pull that tight. So 2 half hitches is 1 in and 1 out. And again, we've kind of talked about if you find this tent is not as waterproof as you'd like it to be, this ground cloth we used on the bottom, it's just visqueen. You can get more visqueen or 6 mil, 4 mil, whatever you want to get, right off Amazon or off Campmore or other places. It works great for waterproofing your tent. Water is not going to get through that visqueen. All right, and here we are with the front one. We use what already is built into this. And again, it's going to be like a anchor on a ship. The longer it is, the more stable it's going to be and harder to pull out with wind. And then your stake needs to go away when you push your stake in. So the longer this is, the better it is for resistance for pulling out for wind, etc. Now on this tent, crucial to keep everything tight because of its low waterproofing ability. You want everything to stay tight. All right. And this one's kind of jacked up already. So I'm just going to put taut line in here. And then I'll pull this one tight. Again, not an expensive tent. An emergency tent. It could be a better emergency tent than some of the other emergency tents we may have featured on this channel. I'm also finding right now in the moment, you do have one more stake here on the side, so you can put another stake there. So right here on the side, I'm seeing a stake hole that I forgot about, but we do have the right number of stakes to stake them right on in there. And then we're going to stake this last one. And I'm going to pull a little bit of slack between these two here. So look, not the most beautiful looking tent when you set it up. I'm seeing the more we pull on the sides, the more we get a little droop right there. Perhaps if we take some of that out on the sides, it allows that to correct a little bit. All right. Yep, sure does. All right. Next, there is no zipper across the bottom. All right, so you have just a zipper here. And look, it is raining, so we will test this thing's waterproof ability out again. So the no-seam mesh, though, has top and bottom zippers. It's just this one here doesn't have a bottom zipper in terms of making sure no water's coming up in there. So you will want to watch out for that when you get this sealed up. I'm going to just roll this up for a moment here so you can get a better look at things. There are tabs here on the side, so you can pull the sides back and they will stay. So I'm going to roll both sides up so we can take a look inside. Something just pulled over there. It's that little stake on the bottom. I'll fix that here in a second. If you were doing some fair weather camping and you were with some younger scouts that didn't want to spend money on backpacking tents, they said, I want to buy something cheap, something lightweight. This is cheap and lightweight, but I'd compare it to some other options too. Your 2-person Coleman tent. Now this comes in at 3.8 pounds. I don't recall how much the 2-person Coleman tent weighs, but the 2-person Coleman is what I used last weekend for Ethan slept in that, and I slept in my tarp, and he was bone dry. This right here, I'm gonna check on it in the morning and see how dry it is. No doubt. I can kind of see through this tent right now. You can see the lights. You might even can see through the back of this tent like I can. Some interesting stuff here. I think tonight will tell how weatherproof, waterproof, whatever it is. Again, I weatherproofed this years ago. We're going to set it up tonight, see how it goes. 2 people could sleep in here. If it was summertime, there's not rain going on, stuff like that, I wouldn't have an issue with it. I'd have serious concerns in a rain and windstorm though, because this isn't much of a tent. Let's see how it holds up. I will reverse the camera around so you can get another view from inside. I would have this tent as an emergency tent over life tent. But again, I'm not so sure how well this thing's going to hold up to the weather tonight. I'll show you a couple things here. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can see how the rain is already beating up on the tent. Do you have any tent that you can ever recall that you'd see rain beating up and you could see the rain through the tent? Most of the time that's on your rain fly. Do you remember a tent where you could just see through the tent? So the Stansport tent, it's a pretty thin tent. So I'm thinking fair weather tent, but we're going to put it through the paces tonight. All right, folks. Appreciate everybody as always. Keep up all the support. We'll see you. More adventures to go tomorrow. That's it for today.